What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Speaking Nerd podcast, where we talk about all things nerdy and whatever else we talk about. As Marvel said in the last episode, we already did a porn video, so sky's the limit with these things.
I mean, yeah, right?
So today, yeah, it's like never ending at this point. We could talk about like farts, and people would, like, Alter and AJ would be like, "Oh yeah, it's a great idea."
Let's do it.
What would happen if DC bought the rights to human assholes? And then we do an episode. But today we're talking about something that's very special to me as a huge fan, and we're talking about the Halloween franchise. Mostly, well, not even mostly, we're just going to be focusing on the new stuff, maybe talk about the old stuff a little bit, but we're just going to focus the main meat of this video on the new ones. So Halloween 2018 and Halloween Ends, and then, or I'm sorry, Halloween Kills.
Yes.
Ends is coming out next month. So, and that's probably what I'm going to be after this movie comes out, because I'm basically done with this franchise. It's been going on too long, but I'll save that for later in this video. But I'm excited to talk about it because I've never actually spoken about it in the podcast before. I know there was a video about it, but I was not a part of it because this bastard invited something. No, I'm just kidding. No hard feelings. No, but that's a really good episode if you guys want to check that out. But yeah, so let's get on with the discussion.
Yeah, that video was that was 2 years ago, and it
oh
was
my
like
God.
episode 5 or something like Fox. It was like very early on. I think that was way before any of you were full on co-hosts. Like I'd have guest spots here and there, but yeah, it was me and Melody, who, man, I want to get him back on the podcast at some point, but
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I think me and him were talking about doing like a Jurassic Park episode at like some point, going over the franchise. Cool. So he's big into dinosaurs. So.
Oh man, I'd probably get on with him. I wanted to be a paleontologist when I was a kid.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
So yeah, I'm not really gonna say my thoughts on the series. Just go watch that other video. But since you weren't there, do you want to quickly talk about the series, how you feel about it, all the various reboots and timelines and all that shit?
Yeah. So growing up, I was a huge fan of Halloween because my mom loved the movies, and every time, this time of year, they'd be on TV on whatever channel it was, that 31 days until Halloween or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what sparked my love for the Halloween season. So I credit it somewhat to Halloween, the movies, and my mother. But I don't know, when I was young, the movies kind of gave me a sense or a feeling of what the whole season felt like, particularly the ones that were in the 80s, like Return of Michael Myers is a good example, one that I really grew up seeing on TV. And the thing is with these movies is that they're really hit or miss depending on, who the director is and who the actors are. For me, when I actually got into the series, like full-fledged, I wanted to watch them all and get into the lore. I really only resonated with the first two. And H2O was a cool idea that was kind of executed okay, but not that great. If you get what I'm saying, it's very much a 90s horror flick, and it falls into all those cliches. Not how Scream did, because Scream did it great, but Halloween did the exact opposite of what Scream did, and it just became its own worst enemy. And that's kind of, where we get Scream, is because of all these movies going on too long. So I love the series, but like you said, there's so many different timelines that a lot of people, particularly just casual TV watchers, are going to be super confused about. And they're not really going to care, frankly, like what the time period is. If it's confusing, they're not going to watch it.
Yeah.
Or they're just going to be bored out of their mind and be like, yeah, I'm never putting that on again. But I think my favorites, if I had to pick, excluding the new ones for now, because that's a totally different category, and, might I add, everyone, a totally different timeline, once again. I would say the first two are almost interchangeable. I would say the first one's probably the best Halloween movie, though. Um, I think on terms of slashers and originality, this one had it the best. But the second one is the reason I put them so close together is because the second movie really is just a continuation of the first. It's kind of like Halloween 1.5. It's not really the
Right.
second one.
Mm.
Um, and I enjoy that aspect, which is another thing that they carried over to the new movies, um, that being Halloween Kills, which is something I'm not a fan of, but I'll get to that a little bit later. And I really like Return of Michael Myers. I think that's a really good movie. Particularly the lore behind that second timeline, which is Laurie Strode's dead, and she died in a car accident with a train, which is interesting. And it just adds to the whole family tree of the Myers family and that whole wacky thing. And by the time you get to Halloween 6, which is the end of this first timeline, you are left with Danny Boyle and I believe I think it's I forget who the lady is that's related to Laurie. I forget. I don't remember that movie too well. Shit.
Yeah.
But whatever. What have you. That's the last movie, and that's where that first timeline comes to an end. But being more technical, Halloween 3 Season of the Witch is an anthology film, which is a whole nother thing. And when I was younger, I had no idea what the hell that meant. So I thought somehow that it was connected to the Halloween movies. I was like, oh, an anthology, I guess that means it's a different story that takes place in the same universe. And I was a total idiot back then.
It's like, no.
No. I think that would have been an interesting idea if they made Halloween go that route. Definitely would not be what it is today. But I'm kind of glad they didn't because, whereas 5 and 6 get repetitive, and obviously they're really not great movies
No.
from what good movie standards are. I kind of enjoy watching like Halloween 6 during Halloween season. Just if it's on, I'll watch it because, well, you get a young Paul Rudd. And what's not to be intrigued about?
That's right.
The weirdest thing I think I ever saw growing up, I was like, the dude from Clueless is in Halloween? I was like, what? At the time, yeah, that's what I knew him from. But, so yeah, Halloween's a slew of interesting plots and just weird plot choices, particularly.
Yeah.
Which I'll get to that when we start talking about the sequels. Oh, and then there was the reboots, but I won't get too into them. They're basically just rehashes of the first two movies, the Rob Zombie ones.
Well,
the first one's actually good. What was that?
I was just gonna say more so with the first Rob Zombie movie because Halloween 2, like
Halloween 2's horribly weird. It makes
strange.
absolutely no. The only thing related to the original movies that the second Rob Zombie one is the introduction dream sequence, which is pretty cool, but that's like some brutal shit in that one too. Probably the most brutal like those movies got in terms of violence was the Rob Zombie ones.
Yeah.
Like I don't love those movies, but I guess the 2000s kid in me is like, oh, this is what I grew up with, kind of. Even though I didn't grow up watching those. I actually grew up scared to watch those ones because they were super scary, violent.
Yeah.
But yeah, so interesting direction this series is constantly taken. And just a quick recap, so you have 1, 2, then 3, which would have been the anthology version of things.
Its own thing, primarily.
And then 3 is cut out once 4 comes along, so they really shouldn't have used 4. And I don't think they did use 4 upon release. I think it was just called Halloween Return of Michael Myers.
I'm not sure.
So then it would be Halloween, Halloween 2, 4, 5, 6. Then that's the end, and you're left with another cliffhanger because the series did not continue with that storyline anymore. And then we're rebooted to H2O, which I actually kind of like. like I said earlier, it's not great, but it's kind of fun in its own '90s Halloween way. Um, and yeah, so you have that one, and then Resurrection, which is just dog shit.
Oh yeah.
An absolute horror show. But that is literally horror. If you watch that movie, that is what you should be afraid of. The only redeeming factor of that movie is Busta Rhymes karate kicking Michael Myers out of a window. That was freaking gold.
You call that a high point. I call that a piece of, like, fucking low point. Fuck that movie.
It's such a terrible movie. Remember when he chops the girl's head off with the fucking kitchen knife? He chops a whole head off with one slash. That was the funniest shit ever. Oh, it's so stupid. But yeah, so then it gets, then you have the reboot Rob Zombie, and now we're here in 2022 with the trilogy of the new Halloween movies coming to an end. Thank God. And I recently rewatched Halloween Kills.
We'll get
Lord
to it.
help us all. Yeah. Oh God.
I found it really interesting when they announced, like, we're doing another Halloween movie, but it was like, oh, this time it's gonna be, continuing right where the first movie left off, and completely veering in its own direction, and also the fact that it's like,
Yeah.
it's not only part of the original, but it's also just a self-contained, 3-act kind of story, which I found interesting. It's interesting the fact that, I mean, we all know at some point they're just gonna reboot again. Like, it's inevitable, right? But the fact that Carpenter, like, has his Carpenter and the whole team, and, like, they have their true timeline now is actually kind of surreal, and it's kind of cool. So
yeah, it is. I don't know your like exact thoughts now on Halloween and Halloween Kills, but what are your thoughts on the first one, Halloween 2018? Because upon release, I really enjoyed it, just because I felt it was a step in the right direction. And I think they did a good job with the brutal aspect of Michael Myers.
yeah,
And I really liked the whole prison escape thing. I thought that was really good. Yeah, and I liked that it was a 3-act thing, and I thought it worked for that movie. That was definitely much better than Kills. Miles better, actually, considering Kills the standard it set. But what do you think as a whole of that movie? And more importantly, how do you think it adds up or connects on a greater level with the first two movies?
so
Or the first movie, I'm sorry, not the first two.
yeah. So the thing about Halloween 2018, and I think we probably talked about in the last Halloween video we did, but I did rewatch both of them, or I rewatched 2018, and then I watched Kills just recently because I never saw it in theaters. And so for 2018, like, I think it's a good return to form as far as Halloween is concerned. It's got a lot of really great moments in between, and some fun character dynamics, and interesting insight into some of those characters. My biggest problem is that they take too much from the original as far as trying to do an in-universe reboot. Like, there's a lot of it kind of does the Force Awakens thing, where it's like there's a lot of similar beats between the original John Carpenter movie and this. And I mean, I'm more forgiving for this kind of thing because it's a franchise that, like, was kind of just turned to shit ever since 1998. So, like, so it was kind of nice to see, like, those elements come back in some shape or form. And they actually did some really creative stuff too with like, one of my favorite scenes is the one-shot take where, like, it starts with the two kids running into Michael, and then it follows just him for, like, I think it's up to, like, 5 minutes. Like, that scene's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it's really good.
But other stuff like the prison escape and like it's just like I mean we've already seen this before. Like
Yeah,
it feels weird to just rehash that again. It makes
yeah,
sense within the context of the movie, but it feels so similar to
sure.
the original where it's just like so
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the prison escape scene, it's, I mean, like you said, it's definitely like basically the exact beat that we had in the first movie. But I think the reason I'm more forgiving of it is because, well, like you said, it's kind of a good return to form rather than them just like doing it for no apparent reason, just because it's like continuing the story of the first one.
Yeah.
Whereas they're just trying to like pick up the pieces that the, what was it, four, like last four movies had screwed up so badly. Um, and it was 20 years at that point since we really had any remnants of the original kind of timeline, which was, I mean, some would argue it was the best. I don't know, but regardless, the franchise has been bad for a long time
Yeah.
until then. But I give it a little bit more leeway just because we get to see Michael at his absolute most unhinged mode, I would say. Um, I like seeing Michael out of the costume. I just don't like seeing his face. I like how they had it kind of, anonymous as to what he looked like, for a while at least.
Mm-hmm.
And then they ruined that eventually, but um, I do like the scene, especially the gas station scene. I like that scene quite a bit. And I really love the intro of the movie where, they put the mask in front of his little square box in the yard
The
of the
checkerboard
prison.
yard. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was cool and how the dogs just start going crazy. It's almost like something demonic is going on. I really like that.
Yeah.
Um, that was cool. But yeah, it does follow a lot of the same beats, and that's probably my own, not my only criticism with it, but that's the main one. Just that followed too closely. But I'm kind of in the same boat as you, is where I kind of give it a little bit of, wiggle room to do that because of what it has to fix in some way.
Yeah.
Um, when this movie was announced, I was really excited, but then soon after, I forget how soon after it was, but they announced that Laurie Strode was not his sister anymore. So automatically, I was very turned off by that because that was the whole dynamic of the first two movies. Actually, the first six movies really was all about the Strode family and the Myers family.
Yeah.
And why Michael was after Laurie in the first place. So it's like this Halloween 2018 takes place 40 years after the original. And there's no point for it to be taking place because Michael should not give a shit what Laurie Strode does. There's no point to her making her house into a freaking like military grade arsenal place just for Michael Myers, who's been locked up for 40 years, who killed babysitters with no connection to Laurie. That was
Yeah.
I was genuinely just confused that they made that decision and pretty upset, honestly, because it's like any kind of connections to that original timeline are just completely severed. It would have been interesting to kind of have it end after the second movie rather than the first of like, well, how the hell did he survive that explosion in the hospital and all that stuff? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a letdown when I saw it because I was like, yeah, I'm watching a movie it's good. It's a good Halloween movie, but it's like that emotional baggage that you would get if they were related is not there. It's like, why is this even happening?
Yeah.
So
I mean, I can
that
understand
was
that.
my big criticism.
I can understand that too. And I am also somebody that likes that whole dynamic between the two of them being related. But if you listen to John Carpenter, he's talked about Halloween 2 numerous amount of times. And I believe the general consensus is that he wasn't really a big fan of the whole idea about making them related. So
Yeah,
the fact that he's just kind of fleshing out his own
no, he
timeline
wasn't.
and making them kind of their own separate entities, like It works for the movie, I would say. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I, I think sort of, but I just think that it's a stretch to say that any of that would happen in that universe because of how far apart the time is. Like,
Mm.
maybe if it was 10, 15 years, maybe 20 years even, but 40 years is a long time to, like, kind of just throw that idea out the window and be like, yeah, they're not related and he's just going to go after her 40 years later. And I don't know, I don't like it. It just kind of makes me feel like the plot kind of thins out a little bit for me. Um, and like, yeah, like you said, like, you don't need it to have a good Halloween movie, but it definitely helps. And, you know, also, like I said, it's just such a long time to kind of switch that up, and it makes it feel less important. The whole Michael trying to kill Laurie thing.
Mm.
But I don't know. I think it's hard too to debate whether it's good or not because that was the way it was the whole time. Um, I'm not saying that makes it good or bad. I'm just saying like it's hard to see it without it
That's true.
because
Yeah.
that was like, and to have it as the main timeline, as Carpenter's timeline, is just weird to take it out. It just feels weird from a movie perspective.
That's understandable
But
too. Like, no matter what timeline or reboots, but like depending, like just having them, you would think that they would still be related even in this new setting.
right,
But I like that they make changes like that. I like that they kind of veered
mm-hmm.
away from what people expected. Like, one thing I
Yeah,
really
I
like
see what
is
you're
the
saying.
whole like, crazy like make my house a fucking like death trap Lori.
Yeah,
Like, I think that was handled really well. The one thing I don't really care about is like there are some characters which I don't really like give a shit about.
yeah, me too.
One of which is like her daughter's husband, which I'm I'm just glad he
Yeah,
dies off later. So,
yeah, it's like they didn't do a great job at making me care about a lot of characters, and obviously I care about Lori. Like
yeah.
Lori is the final girl. She's the original final girl. Um, and I love her character. We've been with her character for 40 years. And like when they said Jamie Lee was going to be back, I was ecstatic when I was like, what was I, 14 when they announced this? Um, so I was really excited, and I will say, and one of the factors of the movie I love is just seeing Jamie Lee Curtis. She's great.
Oh
Um,
yeah, no,
her
of course.
usual. Um, and I'm with you. Like I do enjoy like wartime, like Lori. I just for me it just kind of makes it feel a little less necessary to be that way if they're not related. That's the like I do like the fact that she has a freaking tank of a house,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I guess I just think if there was an emotional connection, I would connect with that more. But to each his own. Like, you know,
Also,
I know
too,
some
it's
people.
like I mean, people handle trauma differently. Like
Yeah,
nobody's
that's true.
so they could have gone any
That
number
is
of
very
ways.
true.
So
Yeah, that's very true.
yeah,
Well,
I think the movie in general is still a really good watch. Like it's
yeah,
definitely one of the better Halloween movies. I would put it for me personally. I'd put it like
I put it top list for me. Pretty
it's like
top list.
it's
Like,
like one. I kind of like 2018 a little better than Halloween 2, but that's just me.
mhm,
And
yeah,
then yeah, it's like those two kind of neck and neck for second place, I'd say.
yeah,
But yeah, for this new timeline, like I mean, if you're going past the original, it's still like a really good start, I think.
yeah. It is. And you know, you don't have to watch a lot of movies to understand what's going on
That's
here.
true.
That's
Yeah.
one good thing about this is that you just need to watch the first movie. And even if you watch the first movie, I'm sure Halloween's been around long enough and it's been in pop culture, you know, as much as it has for you to kind of know what happens in
Yeah,
the first movie.
you get the idea.
Yeah. Um, I just want to add before we move on to the second one, real quick, that
Yeah.
an addition to the movie that I loved was Dr. Loomis's kind of like pupil, and how he basically wanted to be Michael Myers. Um, that
Oh,
was an interesting plot line.
it was
Um,
interesting, but it was kind of like, to me, it like I liked the character at first, like
yeah,
he
me
was
too.
interesting, and then this idea just shoehorns its way in, where it's just like, I want to be
That's true.
Michael so bad. I
Yeah,
want
and you
him to
know what
respect
too?
me.
That's kind of where I was going to go with it too. Is like I like his character, but then it like and they really don't have that plot line around for that long.
No,
Like
it's like literally in
he,
the last
he
act, he just like they find him on the side of the road. He shoots the cop, and then it's just like, I'm going to put this mask on.
yeah, and then he gets friggin' watermelon head
He is my
by
favorite. He is my
Michael.
favorite kill in the whole movie, where Michael's just staring
Yeah,
down
it's
at
so
him.
good.
He's just like, say something.
Yeah, oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
One of the most brutal kills. I remember I saw that with my mom, not in the theaters, but we were watching it together at home, and she was like, "What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?" I was like, "You'll see."
You
And
just wait
then
for it.
she was so freaked out. It was hilarious. Um, yeah. So 2018 overall, really good movie, particularly if you're watching it as a Halloween movie. That's where it shines the most when you're watching it in that context.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Now on to Halloween Kills, which
yeah.
you start with how you feel about the movie in general.
I hate this movie. Um, it's so it's so damn dry. It's devoid of any creativity, and they really tried hard to like. We're gonna bring Danny, or yeah, we're gonna bring Danny back, and like, I'm sorry, not Danny, Tommy.
Tommy.
I'm an idiot. Danny, what the hell am I thinking? But we're gonna bring Tommy Doyle. Yeah, I'm a real Halloween fan. We're gonna bring Tommy Doyle back, and they're gonna have like an uproar, and it takes place in a hospital again for the majority of it. Um, it's so, dude. I don't know what it is about this movie. I mean, the pacing's bad, the story's bad, but I feel like why I don't know why they started off so strong with Halloween 2018, and then just like it feels like they put down their creativity as writers and just and I think that's the problem is that they relied so much on the original Halloween movie for Halloween 2018 that they didn't know what the hell to do for this one. Like, I really don't think they picked the right people to write a Halloween movie.
Hmm.
I mean, you have Danny McBride, which no disrespect to him, he's hilarious and a very funny actor. But to write a Halloween movie, I don't know. Like, and have it be really good and original, that's something that this movie is not at all. Um, and the whole like subplot of like the hospital having an uproar and like them thinking the one inmate was Michael, which makes no sense at all because he looks nothing like Michael Myers,
Yeah.
is one of the dumbest things ever. And then he kills himself, which I actually felt bad for that character because, well, first off, he killed himself. He was mentally insane, didn't know what was going on, and they just wrote him so badly that I wouldn't blame him if he jumped out a window. Like, oh my god, it's such a and Michael. Here's the thing too: is I don't know if you remember when they were releasing this movie or the first one, but they were like, "Yeah, Michael's not going to be so much a force of nature anymore. He's not like some demonic thing sent from hell, and he's just the embodiment of evil kind of thing." They weren't going for like the indestructible machine that Michael was before.
Hmm.
And they were like, "We're going to kind of bring him more to a human level." I'm like, "Okay, great. That's really good. I kind of like that." And then what do? They spend the whole last 5 minutes of the movie explaining why Michael is pure evil. Now, no doubt, he's been pure evil since the first movie, but he hasn't been an unstoppable force in the sense of like comparing the first movie to the fifth movie. He's just indestructible, and they turned him right back to that, which I didn't like because that was one of the quote unquote promises they made, which was not kept clearly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just Michael's unhinged again. So it's like where do you go from here? Too, it's like I don't think Halloween Ends is going to be anywhere near as good of a sequel as the 2018 movie was. Sure as hell is not going to be anything near the first movie. I think it's just going to be a follow-up shit show. What do you think of this movie? I'm sure as you talk, I'll probably have more ideas of what I want to say.
I think in general, like, it's fine. It's not the worst Halloween movie I've seen. Far from it, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like you mentioned,
it's not Resurrection.
There's a lot of, like, really stupid stuff that happens, like, all throughout. Like, anytime they're in the hospital, like, was just really frustrating.
Yeah.
You know, with the whole psychic patient. And I didn't mind the fact that they were like, you know, we're going to take on Michael ourselves. I think that's an interesting idea. It's just they don't really handle it that well.
Yeah.
And I mean the ending I don't care for at all. Like that was one of the biggest things. Like too, where it's just like, you know, I watched this new trilogy to see the conflict between Laurie and Michael, and it's just like I'm not getting that in this movie.
No.
It's just a bunch of people just going wherever they feel like and accidentally shooting themselves in the face and shit like that.
Yeah, it was all so stupid some of the time.
That was stupid. Yeah.
I was like,
but yeah, I think the kills are, you know, Michael is a beast in this this new series of films, which I like. Like I like the fact that like he's not so much indestructible. It's just he's one tough son of a bitch. Well,
I mean, look, I would say that there's a difference between being a tough son of a bitch and literally being like the ending of the movie. He's down on the ground, literally dying, and then what happens? He pops up like fucking Altair from Assassin's Creed and just starts marking them.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, that like moments like that was weird. Even though I do really like the very beginning with him killing all the firefighters. Like,
no, I was just gonna say that. That's a really good scene, and I like that a lot, especially when he comes out with he just like dismantles the firefighter with the axe, and he just kills everyone.
Yeah, like
and I'm fine with Michael killing everyone. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I just hate it when he's like walk. He's kind of like how he was in like the last few movies where he like walks super slow. People shoot him with shotguns. They stab him, and he's just walking still. Like it's like, my God, could he be any more like predictable? Because like at those points, it's like, well, he's going to kill everyone, obviously.
Evil's motivating me so hard.
I know, and like it would have worked better if from the get-go they're like, yeah, he's still exactly like he was in the sense of he cannot be stopped. Like, and then I'm like, okay, fine, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that was one of the things they said, which was they wanted to make him less of that. I'm gonna read it up. I feel
like you see more of that in 2018 than you do in Kills. Like I feel like I think they
did it differently though. I think that's the thing is like they did the same thing, but they tried to do it differently in the sense of like how sort of immune to pain he is. It's like he got his finger shot off in the first one, or 2018, which was cool because when that happened, I was like, he does have weaknesses. Like, oh my God, you can shoot his hand and it'll blow up.
Yeah.
But it's like, and in the first one, I mean, yeah, he was kind of a powerhouse. He like took all those guys' teeth out and broke his jaw in half.
Yeah, that was terrible. That scene was terrifying to me, especially in the trailer when he like his hand peeks over the bathroom stall and then just all these teeth come out. I'm like, Matt, that's fucking creepy as shit.
Yeah, it was, and especially because in the movie they literally show you the guy's face, and I was like, oh God, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, I guess. But no, sorry, I keep going on your Halloween Kills
It's a
extra.
weird movie. It's a really weird movie because there's stuff that I like for sure, but then just something comes along where it's just like that really didn't need to happen, or that could have been cut
Yeah,
out completely. I think
yeah,
the biggest issue is the fact that like they basically bench Laurie for the whole movie,
yep,
and it's just right at the end. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go kill Michael. Hope nothing bad happens to my family. They're all getting murdered by violence. It's
yeah.
like, God damn it. God
When her
fucking damn it.
daughter dies too at the end,
That was
I
sad.
didn't really feel any like no. See, I didn't feel any sympathy. I felt like it was so stupid for her to do that. I was like, why are you walking in the house?
I mean,
First
yeah,
of all,
yes, true. It was
regardless,
stupid of her to do
regardless if
that,
he,
but
regardless if he's getting freaking mauled in like a street somewhere, it's Michael Myers, dude. He's gonna get out of that.
just go home.
And
Literally go
yeah,
home.
I mean, it sucked because in the first movie, I guess you build sort of a connection. And in the second movie, she has a good heart because of what she does, what she tries to do with the patient.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I wasn't as emotionally attached as I maybe could have been, or I just wasn't. And the death didn't hit me as hard as like, well, no deaths in the. That's the thing. None of the deaths in these movies really affect me all that much because they kill characters for the like. Generally, they kill characters that I don't care about. Like most of the teenagers in the first one, okay. Like, yeah.
Yeah. It
Whereas,
just,
like, the first movie, it's like, you care about, the other babysitters because they get some development. And I'm not, like, I was surprised they didn't kill off the granddaughter. I thought that would have been a more, like, risky move. I actually didn't expect them to kill the daughter either. I didn't expect them to go for Laurie's family personally in this movie. But I'm not saying the death is devoid of all like sympathy, but I just didn't feel that hit by it.
yeah, I mean, I wasn't moved by it either. Like, I wasn't in tears being like, oh, no, not her. I mean, yeah, it was very stupid of her to go back in the house, but I think part of it is like I liked her a lot in the 2018 movie, and also the fact that she's played
Yeah,
by Judy Greer, who's like a really good
yeah,
actress too. It's just like that
yeah. She
sucked.
is.
I wish, at the very least, if they were gonna kill her off, I wish they could have saved it till like Halloween ends. If you want to
Mm.
like kill somebody, like I guess maybe Tommy or something, like the characters like that, where it's just like I would love to see all three
Which they
struggling
did
in
do.
the third movie, but like, but
Yeah,
Tommy, like, if they went with a more exciting death, then I would have been, a little more, you know.
right.
But they just, he just like dies like nothing. It's just like they're all beating
Bro,
him
he didn't
down, and
even have a
then,
heroic death. Like the cop that got shot in the neck had a more heroic death than he did. Like that was one thing I liked about that movie. Actually, was the
I
connection to the first movie.
I did like that scene too because they allude to it in the 2018 movie. It's just like, how did Michael get cut again? And then you actually
Right.
see it, and I'm like, that is actually a really good scene. And they even
Yeah.
it's so they have so much attention to detail, like it looks exactly like it's straight out of 1978. And I'm just like, that's
Yeah.
awesome. I want to see
Yeah.
more
That
of
was a
that.
really good. Right.
And then they get to the hospital. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, for the most part, I think the movie is just really like it's fine. It's not
Yeah. I think when
it's
you.
not to the point of it being offensive to me, but it's like
Yeah.
it's not the worst Halloween movie either. And I see so many people are just like, "Oh, this movie's worse than Resurrection." I'm like, have you actually watched Resurrection?
It's not worse than Resurrection. As a
Yeah,
Halloween fan, I can say that. Like I don't know that any movie in 2002 is worse than Resurrection. It's so bad. Um, I just think maybe even the main issue with this movie is that when you think it's going to go like a direction that would be really good and interesting, it doesn't take it. Or you want something specific to have, like even Tom, something as little as like how Tommy dies. It's like they did it in a pretty bad way, where
yeah,
they could have made it pretty cool.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, overall, like I don't like this movie, but it's not the worst Halloween movie.
No,
That's for sure. Have you guys watched Curse of Michael Myers? Have you watched Resurrection? Curse of Michael Myers I can tolerate, but Resurrection I can't even tolerate.
Curse is
That movie just...
awful.
It is. I can still watch it, though, because of Paul Rudd, and because I was young, and I was like, nostalgia, but it's not a good movie. And
No.
Resurrection, I can't even watch. I don't ever watch it. I don't know that I'll ever go back to that movie. Like, even just... If Marvel ever said, okay, Josh, let's rewatch the Halloween movies, I'd be like, we're skipping Resurrection, we're not watching it.
It's just like, I'd ask you, it's like, we're watching Halloween movies. Which timeline? It's like, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. Yep.
Hopefully they can turn, like, as much as I think the movie is, like, fine, like, I'm really hoping they do turn things around for Ends, which
Me too.
I'm really apprehensive about because I was just watching some stuff about it earlier, and, like, they allude to the fact of, like, Michael having a partner, which already sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah, that's horrible. I didn't even hear that. That's not right.
Did you see the trailer that came out today?
Today there was a trailer? No,
Yes, there was a final trailer. I'll send it to you after we're done. But
okay. Actually, I'll look it up now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll wait to watch it. But that's
it's weird, right?
That's not right. That's
No.
that's not even okay. I don't know. It's like
this is
like
the whole point of this trilogy was to give like a final hurrah for Laurie and Michael. So why would I want to watch some fucking goober like just try to shoehorn his way in to that? Like that's
plot
lame.
twist. It's Nick Castle. He's the other Michael. There's been two Michaels this whole time. Nick Castle and James Jude Courtney. That would be like a blow.
I actually do like that they gave Nick Castle cameos in the previous two movies. And also the references too. That's one thing that I like about this recent series is that I mean they're excluding certain parts of Halloween canon, but they also reference it at the same time, so it's just like it's still there in some way.
It's there in spirit.
Yeah. One of my favorite references is from I think it's Halloween Kills where like they find the kids in the playground and they're all wearing the masks from Halloween 3.
I'm
like that's really cool.
Yeah, but you know what? They did that in the 2018 one as well,
that's right.
Which I loved. Yeah. They alluded that. And you know, I didn't say this when we were talking about the other movies, but Season of the Witch is an interesting movie. It's not actually... I don't think it's a bad movie by any means.
I don't think it is either.
It's very interesting that they were going to go that route, and it's a super good Halloweenish movie. Like, if you want to get into the spirit of this time of year, I would suggest watching that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so subtle references, I agree. Like that. That's really just cool. I loved when they were doing that stuff.
Yeah,
I want more of that, though.
Yeah, it's like you could tell the people behind it like are fans of this franchise.
So, oh, yeah, for sure.
Even though sometimes they don't know how to write for this franchise, but, you know.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I really, like, when is Ends coming out? Is it, like, the second week of October, I think?
Something like that, yeah. I think
the 14th
it's
like 14th,
I want to say, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to see it, because I've been a Halloween fan for forever now, and it's like,
totally.
I want to see it. I want to see Laurie, like you said, have the final hurrah with Michael. I hope there's no partner involved. Oh my god, that would be like a kick in the nuts. But I just really want to see a quality movie and not to repeat Halloween Kills because, you know, there was some substance there, but there wasn't a lot of great execution. So I'm pulling for it, but I don't know. I really don't know. I'm skeptical. Yeah, I'm skeptical.
I mean, I can understand that. It's. I mean, it's hard not to be skeptical with this franchise, but you know,
it's the nature of the movie business, my friend.
Yeah. But yeah, we're definitely gonna do a video for Halloween Kills later this month. I'm thinking we'll put it out
absolutely
on Halloween itself because I think it falls on a Sunday. So
yes, it does.
It does? Okay, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it does.
we'll do that then. We'll get that episode on Halloween as a special kind of hurrah, I guess, for this franchise. But I honestly I don't really have much else to input on these movies. If you do,
No, me neither. Just I'm excited to see the new one, regardless of skepticism. I'm still excited to see, Laurie and Michael.
Absolutely.
Regardless.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's gonna be that's gonna be it, ladies and gentlemen. Since it's October, or by the time this comes out, it'll be October 1st. We're gonna try and do some Halloween-related content, not specifically for this franchise, but just in general. Maybe talk about some horror-related games or comics. Whatever we can think of. I'm sure that there's some topics to talk about. I was thinking maybe at either this month we'll talk about like Batman Long Halloween, since we alluded to that like many months ago.
I love that.
As far as like other stuff, maybe like something on horror movies, just something like very scary videos for a month.
Yeah, like I think it'd be cool to talk about the Universal movies.
Yeah.
That stuff's... Oh, I love that stuff so much.
Yeah. Evolution of Horror, that would be a fun one.
Oh, that would be cool. That would be really good.
Yeah.
But, everyone, we'll figure that out over the next few weeks, I'm sure, what we'll talk about exactly. But it should be fun.
Yeah. And in case, we might have some bonus episodes here and there, like for the Sunday time slot. We'll see what happens. But do you got anything to plug before we leave?
No, I'm not really working on anything at the moment, so
okay.
No. Just go subscribe to my channel because I'm doing nothing over there right now.
Yeah, literally.
But you can follow us on Twitter, though, and keep up to date with all our Speaking Nerd podcast stuff and our, stuff that we're doing solo. But also, you guys can check us out on Instagram. We're there now. So definitely go follow the Instagram account. And what do you have to plug? You're working on a fair amount of content.
Yeah, I've been working like a dog this month, or this past month, pushing out all types of content, and I have some stuff all types. It's been a long day, but yeah, I got a lot of stuff that I want to do for October. I'm hell bent on buying a PS5 at the start of the month. Once this new paycheck comes in, so I can actually play Gotham Knights with my friends and not have to sit in the sidelines doing nothing. But
AJ, he can still play it. He just can't play it with us.
Yeah, no. But also, I want to try and get my Avengers review out this month because, boy, that'll be a really good one.
We all need that. We all need to know more about the Avengers game.
Yeah. So yeah, lots of fun stuff planned. Lots of smaller projects I want to try and put out. Since the whole summer, I literally just put out like maybe 4 videos between reviews. But yeah, that's about it, really. So until next time, friends, take care.